Welcome back to another episode of RNT Fitness Radio. Today we have on the line Paul Jarman, who's a holistic and sports therapist based in London. I've been using Paul for the past 2-3 years for any issues and injuries that I've come across, and I always send any of my clients who are based in the London area to go see Paul because I genuinely do think he's one of the best out there. And in a world full of pretenders and poor quality physios, he really does separate himself. And one of the reasons being is he specializes in a technique called Chinese Tuina. And now it's come from the Eastern world and it's used a lot in Eastern medicine, but it's very unheard of in the Western world, and it does need to be brought to the limelight, but a lot more because of its insanely powerful techniques. So in today's episode, we discuss Tuina, the benefits. We also discuss foam rolling at length and why it may not be all it's cracked up to be, as well as tips for office workers, people with back pain, and general tips on stretching and living a healthier lifestyle to keep your body in one piece and functioning at its best capacity. So I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And without further ado, here's Paul. Let's tell the listeners who Paul Jarman is, and just give your backstory, where you've come from, your journey into therapy, why you chose to become a therapist, and tell us about yourself.
All right, well, thanks for having me. I'm Paul Jarman. I'm a 32-year-old from West London, born and raised. I'm qualified in a variety of holistic treatments, from sports therapy to osteopathic techniques and trigger point therapy, Chinese medicine, Tuina. I never really thought about going into therapy. It's just something I fell into accidentally.
How did that happen?
It was a bit of a mixture of scenarios, to be honest. I always been very interested in natural remedies for the body, healing salves, always making my own healing salves and everything. Natural potions, let's say. You get the energy drinks, and I was trying to fiddle around with natural ingredients, trying to make my own. Okay. Just grew up liking the way the body's supposed to work with nature. So I have a friend who studied massage one day, and she gave me my very first massage. This was about 7 or 8 years ago. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. So I started looking into it, and I thought, actually, this kind of fits into everything I know, everything I like. So I never intended to be a therapist, which is pure curiosity. Went to study massage and holistic treatments. Found out they had a sports course there as well. Decided, worst case scenario is, just get a bit more information about the human body, and I jumped on it. And as soon as I qualified in sports therapy, I just thought to myself, wow, there's so much more that I need to know.
Yeah.
The more you learn, the more you want to learn, the more you realize you have to learn. So, it was also, my sister was a little bit ill. Doctors weren't really helping her with her issues, and we couldn't understand why, because doctors are king in the eyes of the Western world. The doctor says this, and that's what it is. But nothing they ever said helped.
What was the issue? If you don't mind me asking.
No, not at all. So it's a condition. It's quite a rare condition called Marfan Syndrome. And the problem with that is, Marfan's. So the problem with Marfan's is there are no set alignment of conditions. It's different for every patient. So they didn't even connect it until she was in her mid-teens. So they were just treating one thing after another, not really getting any results, and then connected everything to Marfan's, and then kind of said, well, there's nothing else we can do. Which was a bit of a pain and got me frustrated. So I started learning about the human body even more in depth because of that, to try and see if I can help, because I had a natural knack for it. And it just kind of spiraled from there. I haven't stopped learning.
Did she get cured? or is this?
So I treat her regularly, and she's problem with Marfan's is it's a management system.
Okay, got it.
It's not. There's no cure. It's a plethora of issues that just keep aggravating each other. So she's under management, and she's doing really well. She's a professional dancer at the moment. She's come back from California, studied over in California. Now she's dancing, she's doing really well.
And what kind of techniques have you used to help control what she's got?
So at first it was sports therapy. So it was a lot of muscle activation. It was a lot of musculoskeletal issues is where I could help her before. Marfan's is a connective tissue disorder. So I had a problem with scoliosis with her. Which was one of the major problems because obviously scoliosis leads to a lot of internal health issues, organs in misalignment, and so they're not working properly. So we focused on the scoliosis mainly, and from that, her health started to improve. But then I studied something called Tuina, and from there, it blew my mind with what I was capable of.
So, Paul, before we go into Tuina, because that's something I really want to dive into.
Okay.
What were you doing before you got into sports massage? Because you said you got into around the age of 25. But what were you doing before that? Was
it? So I got into massage 6 years ago.
Okay.
I actually studying massage. I've always been into the body, into studying the human body, but I got into therapy about 6 years ago. Before that, I was in the security industry. So I worked in every form of security you can think of. And before that, I was a chef.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I used to cook for a living. That was my main trade. That's what I went to college for.
Okay.
Yeah. So Italian was my focus.
You really did fall into this complete accident then, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I started off life as a chef and went through security and then into therapy. So it really, really was not the plan.
Paul is a giant, right? So, Paul's about what, 6'4"?
6'3", and at the moment I think I'm 110 kilos.
He's a big dude, which is when you're getting massaged by him, it damn hurts, right?
It can be uncomfortable. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't muck about when I give treatments. It's some people say massage shouldn't hurt, but actually, sometimes you have to put in a bit of extra pressure to get a result. And unfortunately, it's just the way the body works, and that's how I treat, and that's how I get results.
Why do people say that? Because I've heard that as well. Because I've actually done up to, I think, level 3 sports massage.
Mm-hmm.
So we were taught the basic techniques, and one of the things they used to always say was, massage should never hurt. It should never be painful to the client. What's your thoughts on that? Because
I think it's more of I think it's a Western world scenario of accountability. People don't want to teach, an art where you're giving people pain, because then people become uncomfortable with that art. But in actual fact, I mean, for example, you look at the IT band, right, and fascial stretching. It's been proven that it takes up to 926 kilos of pressure to stretch fascia a centimeter. There's no way, even at 110 kilos, with my strength, that I'm putting nearly 1,000 pounds worth of pressure into your IT band, to get a stretch. So, sometimes you have to put in that extra pressure to stretch out the tendons, to stretch out the fascial tissue, and it's uncomfortable, but it's also relevant because some people can take the pressure. I have some clients who I'm sweating whilst I'm treating them, and they're just there like, yeah, it's cool. You put more pressure if you want. So it's you can't. Some people you don't hurt, obviously. Especially if their constitution doesn't allow it. If it's a 86-year-old with osteoporosis, you don't touch them the way that you would touch a 25-year-old bodybuilder.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on that point of the fascial stretching, that kind of debunks the whole foam roller thing, right? The whole concept of foam rolling, because that was huge years and years ago, right? And it's kind of died down a bit now. But I mean, I was completely sold on it, and I used to spend a good half an hour before every session when I was at university. I remember foam rolling every body part, and I don't looking back, I don't think there was any benefit to it, and it's probably from the reasons you just given, right? Because you can never really give yourself enough pressure on the roller, right, to warrant any fascial change.
No,
external stimulus, essentially, right?
I think you can't. Yeah, you can't put enough pressure yourself onto a foam roller. Absolutely not. Unless you weigh a ton, you can't put a ton of weight into it. But I think research is showing a new technique called flossing.
Yeah,
it's where you compress a whole joint and you move through the range of that joint whilst it's compressed. And I think that is actually more in line with what rolling does, foam rolling does to the human body, right? So it compresses a muscle or muscle group whilst you're active in that movement in one way or another to create a form of release. But that could be a neurotransmitter release. It can be very subtle, but makes you feel better. You know, you're warming up the muscle tissues, not really the fascial tissue.
Can you give an example of this flossing technique?
Yeah. You never used it?
No, I don't think I have, no.
Okay, so there's something called a floss band. I like the rock tape version. Basically, it's you know, the resistance bands.
Yeah.
Basically, a tougher version of that you wrap around a joint really, really tight. So it's plastic. You wrap around a joint really, really tight, and as it's compressing, you're moving. So imagine all your muscles moving. They're supposed to be from. Okay, best way I can put it.
Imagine you have you're showing me in the video, but
yeah, exactly. Best way I can put it. Imagine you have a tube of wires.
Yeah.
Okay, but in that tube is a knot in one of those wires. Best way for you to get the knot out is to compress the tube.
Okay, got it.
And break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the theory behind it. Still in its early stages of studies, but I think that is more in line with how foam rolling actually works.
Because people used to say you foam roll first to loosen up those knots, essentially, and then you stretch afterwards to lengthen the muscle again. Because if you stretch without rolling, they say you're just tightening that knot even further, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Am I getting that right? Yeah.
No, yeah, you're getting that right. Absolutely. The theory of foam rolling is there, but the evidence behind it wasn't.
Okay.
So, you know, they weren't wrong in the sense that you are loosening up a knot. They just didn't know why. But it's the same with fascial release, myofascial release, or kinesiology tape, for a better example. If you look at the studies behind kinesiology taping, when you tape one side of a leg and then do an MRI comparison of before and after, you get a signal change on the other side of the muscle, not the side that you've taped. But we don't understand why that's happening yet. So there's still a lot of study needed to go into fascial work, fascial treatments.
Okay. And on that note of stretching, what are your thoughts on stretching? Should it be done? When should it be done? Is it worth it?
Absolutely. I think the most important single piece of advice you give anyone is don't forget to stretch. Okay. Stretching is beneficial, but like you said, only if you do it at the right time. So I don't believe you should stretch before you're doing an activity unless you're doing a dynamic stretching. So unless you're stretching in a warm-up and in movement, then it's redundant, because if you think you're stretching a muscle statically and then you're about to engage it for an hour, constantly, you're going to damage that muscle. Whereas if you warm it up for its full range and then engage it, you're encouraging extra blood flow, extra muscle engagement, fiber engagement. So your workout's going to be even better. Then, if you want to stretch after statically.
So what about stretching at night before bed?
As long as you stretch for a minimum of 20 minutes. I see a lot of people stretching, though. They'll say, oh yeah, I do a stretch routine, and then they'll hold a stretch for 10 seconds.
Well, so 20 minutes in one position?
No, 20 minutes as a routine.
Yeah, so how long would each position be?
Okay, so have you ever heard of anything, something called the stretch reflex?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the stretch reflex takes 12 to 15 seconds for your body to override, right? For those of you that don't know, the stretch reflex is your body's natural protective mechanism to the full range of a stretch. So if you, for example, if you touch your toes, you can't touch your toes, and you try and touch your toes, your body will cause you pain in your hamstrings for you not to rip your muscle. If you hold that for 12 to 15 seconds, you'll notice that naturally you'll be able to go further. That is the body overriding the stretch reflex, because it's your body saying, actually, we're not going to get injured in this position. We can go further. After that 12 to 15 seconds, that's when a stretch starts. Yeah?
Yes,
the stretch is
about a minute at least.
You want a 30-second to a minute stretch at least per position.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because most of us are impatient when they're stretching. Want to get it over and done with.
I think everyone's impatient. I mean, it's just the way we live at the moment.
Yeah.
As human beings, we're in a rush to go nowhere a lot of the time.
Yeah, very true. Let's bounce back, because we kind of came off on a tangent there. We were talking about we were going to go to Tuina. Because one of the things when I came to see you, I first came to you about 3 years ago now, right? And I was referred to by one of my good friends, Sham, and he said to me, "This guy's he's really good, and he's very different to previous massages I've had." So I said to him, "Oh, what do you need to take?" He's like, "Nothing, just lay there. You don't need to take your clothes off or anything like that." So I'd never had a massage with your clothes on, right? So I walk into your freezing boxing gym.
Yeah, it was winter time, wasn't it?
What was that?
It was winter time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Freezing boxing gym in the middle of Park Row. And I'm like, okay, so do I take my clothes off? You and I just lay down, and then you put this blanket on top of me. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea what was going to happen, right? I'd just been told by Sean that it was going to be brutal, and it was good. So, I trusted him. And then you did the whole massage technique through the cloth. Right? Mm-hmm. And then you said it was a Chinese therapy called Tuina. Mm-hmm. So describe to the listeners what Tuina is, how you came across that, and why it's so powerful and different to traditional massage therapy that we're so used to in the Western world.
Okay, well, Tuina is a application of Chinese medicine. So when people think of Chinese medicine or TCM, they think of acupuncture, reflexology, dodgy, potions with tiger bones and stuff. But not many people know what Tuina is, and Tuina is the massage application. All right, it's very ancient. It's recorded at 4,000 years, along with acupuncture. And in China, they use it in hospitals instead of, well, not instead of, but as a first protocol before physiotherapy, osteopathy, or chiropractic. So, in most cities in China, especially like Hong Kong, it's taking over the role and has become a standalone health standalone treatment in within its own right, rivaling physiotherapy in China, not in the UK. I think it's more powerful than a lot of other techniques because, first of all, you have 4,000 years of history behind it. Something that lasts that long has got, some warrant to why it's lasted that long. And we have, it's known as a complete healing system. Whereas massage, they only promote it as a musculoskeletal or a mental healing system. So help relieve stress, help reset the parasympathetic system. Whereas Tuina is considered to help everything in the body, from poor eyesight to migraines to indigestion to bad lungs, COPD disorder, to arthritis to hormonal imbalances. When you compare it, it's actually a lot more varied than other massage therapies. I think this is one of the reasons I chose it as well, because I don't believe one system fits all at all. I believe everyone has conditions and everyone has to have a different set of tools to treat those conditions.
So why is Tuina so unheard of? Because I'd never heard about it before, and I don't see many people advertise it in the UK, especially. I'm not sure how it is in the US and in other Western areas, but in the UK it's not that well known, right?
No, it's not. It's because it's an Eastern medicine. So it's a Chinese medicine, and it's not known in the Western world very well, because when you think of Tuina, you don't think of Tuina, you think of Chinese medicine. And when you think of Chinese medicine, you think of the dodgy little Chinese store trying to force herbs down your throat, in the corner of a building. So maybe no. So it's becoming more and more popular. Like, for example, Johan Blake was treated by one of our guys.
Oh, really?
When he was racing with Usain Bolt, and I'm using it on a lot of athletes at the moment. It's becoming more and more popular. I think because of its effectiveness, people are understanding it's the way forward.
Why is it done through a cloth as opposed to skin to skin?
So that is more for hygiene purposes. Unfortunately, China can't be classed as very hygienic.
Really? Is that okay?
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons, but it's to help protect the therapist's hand from your skin, and it's also to help protect your skin from my hand.
Okay.
Because if you're doing some of the techniques, because they're used without oil, you can get friction burn. But then if you go into the health side of things, if someone's got a rash, I don't really want to be touching them either. So you go through the cloth. I can still get an effective treatment done, but I minimize the risk of contamination.
That makes sense, because there's a lot of plucking techniques, right?
Yeah. So that's called Tui Fa. So it's, the name of the technique is called Tui Fa. Tuina means literally to push and pull. Okay. So it's the name of the actions, and Tui is to push and pluck.
Okay. Well, I'd urge any listener who's never had Tuina treatment, if you're in London, then go see Paul. But if you're not in London, then definitely find a Tuina therapist, because I've had back problems for a long time just from bad training history, and I was bouncing around between different osteos, chiros, physios until I saw Paul, and ever since I've seen Paul, I haven't gone to anyone else. So anytime any one of my clients are around the area, or I myself have an issue, it's just a matter of go see Paul, or give Paul a ring, because I found with Tuina it's very different. And while the next day you feel pretty terrible, the day after you always feel significantly better, right?
Yeah. Tuina is very effective, but it can be perceived as aggressive, but it's not. So one of the most common techniques we use is Gunfers. It's called rolling fist, and although as a practitioner, I'm not using a lot of strength, the technique is very powerful. So you're not used to that power. Even though I adjust so that you can at least be comfortable in the treatment, your body's not used to, well, as comfortable as can be, your body's not used to having this type of treatment. So, we're flushing out toxins, we're breaking down tissues. Your body's going to feel it. It needs to recover from the treatment also.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so you deal with a lot of athletes, right? But you also see a lot of general population clients. And what do you see as the most common complaint from general population clients?
Back and neck pain. Back and neck pain. You know, regardless of the lifestyle, it's always one of those two. I think, yeah. Whether you're a bodybuilder or a runner or, you know, just Joe Blogs, it's always one of those two. I think it's because of the lifestyle we live and the lifestyle we lead. Like I said earlier, you know, everyone's in a rush to go nowhere, and you know, unfortunately, that means convenience, but convenience also means laziness. So we don't use our bodies as nature intended, you know. So we build up a lot of these stresses. We're sitting down a lot. We're bending over wrong. You know, we're not used to squatting in a deep squat as we would, like, historically. Aboriginals, you look at them, you know, they don't have chairs. They squat and they sit down, you know, in a squat around fires and to eat. And you know, back pain's minimal in those tribes, you know. So it's usually one of those two.
So you put it down to the office culture, desk jockey
Absolutely.
habits, and just sitting down too much.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's probably fair to say that that's probably not going to change, right?
No.
It's the way society is. So what can people do to counter a lot of the problems that are building into the back pain and the neck pain and the other problems you're seeing? What can we do?
First of all, don't ever let it linger, you know. If you have pain, depending on how it happens, if it just comes out of nowhere, go and see someone about it. Don't think, oh, it will go away, because generally injuries and issues are accumulative, so they build up over time. So something that you've been doing, leaning to the left if you're right-handed, and then you get pain, you know, these things build up over time. So if you get pain, go see someone. It's simple. Even if the pain is gone, you know, even if you have pain for like 10 days and then it disappears, go see someone, because pain is just your body's way of telling you there's something wrong, you know, so you have to address it. I'd also say, you know, maybe reassess your habits during the day, you know, especially for, say, for example, bodybuilders, you know, reassess your posture, reassess your form. You know, if you're getting back pain from doing a deadlift, maybe you shouldn't be doing a deadlift at the moment, you know. Something's weak, something's not firing. Maybe you're trying to ego lift. Just reassess your habits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're basically aiming that last one at me, right?
Yes, Akash.
Yeah. So those are, you know, after the back pains happen. What about preventative measures before? Like, is there anything you see that we can integrate into our lifestyle from, you know, the office perspective that will immediately help in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. So especially for office workers, you know, first and foremost is to assess your workstation. You won't believe that. I think it's something like 10 or 11% of the disability burden is of all diseases is from back pain. And that's racks up about 10 billion a year worth of, you know, lost revenue just because people are signing themselves off for back pain. You know, so reassess your workstation, because if you're not looking at your computer properly, if you haven't got the right desk height, the right chair height, you're spending too many hours, you're leaning to one side, you know, that's all relevant and that will all affect you at some point. People say, oh no, I'm strong, you know, I'm healthy, I've never had any back pain. Yeah, you might not now, but prevention is always better than the cure.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
And you know, and then definitely get moving. Don't lead a sedentary lifestyle. It's the worst thing you can do, especially if you already have back pain or you have had back pain. You know, I've been in a position where I've had to tell some patients that they can't sit down for up to 2 months. Apart from going to the bathroom and sleeping, they can't sit down. Yeah.
So what do they do? A standing desk?
Standing desks, walk around, you know, have to tell them to do little exercises while they're moving, but they've lost the ability to engage their core because of sitting. They sit too much. So I tell them, okay, you need to learn to engage your core, best thing for you to do that is try and hold yourself upright. You have to stand. You're not allowed to sit down for 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, what I see with a lot of office workers, especially in their mid to late 30s and 40s and onwards, is so many years of being sedentary on a chair. They've, their neck is so far forward, and they've lost control of their upper back. Their shoulder stabilizers. Their posture's gone. Their
they develop upper cross syndrome or lower cross
completely
syndrome.
rounded in their shoulders. They can't engage they can't feel their chest, or they can't feel their upper back because all they goes through their shoulders now. Their hip flexors are super tight. So I get them doing exercises like, and they can't engage their glutes. That's a big one, especially for women who work in the city and they wear high heels and they're sitting down a lot. They just can't engage their glutes. So I get them to do things like hip flexor stretches, glute activations during the day, band dislocations, just stretching out the chest and shoulders where they can. But is there anything else that you can think of that people can add in during their day to counter it, especially when they've done it for so long, when it can become so difficult to start? How do they go about improving their posture?
I mean, first of all, like I said, don't lead a sedentary life. Get up, start moving around. If you're working at 9 to 5 and you're at a desk, first thing you do is change up your desk. Get yourself a standing desk. Get yourself standing platforms. They have standing platforms that are full of pebbles or sands, and you stand on them barefoot to start engaging so you start engaging the muscles in the feet, so that you're never still. It's made almost to be a little bit uncomfortable, so you're always shifting from left to right and left to right. So you start engaging. No? Yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, you can even get one of those yoga balls to sit at a desk. It forces you to engage your core. You can also, what do you call it? Do desk stretches. If you're at a computer for 8 hours a day, make sure every 20 minutes to half an hour, you take 2 minutes just to stretch. Get up at your desk, go for, people go for cigarettes. Get up and go for a walk. Go get some water, do some steps, you like to give steps, go climb some stairs quickly. Get your steps in. Absolutely. Just don't fall into the habit of, oh my God, I need to do this. I'm going to sit here until it's finished. Take a break every 25 minutes, 20 minutes to half an hour and move. It's as simple as that. People think, oh no, but I can't. You can. You absolutely can. It's 2 or 3 minutes a day, every half an hour. It's not that hard.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's something I thought of falling into the trap of, sitting on my laptop for 2-3 hours in a row. And sometimes you just get into that flow state where you just don't realize.
Yeah.
You don't realize unless you got to check yourself and, keep yourself aware of that you've been sedentary for so long.
Mm-hmm. Set reminders, and you have to think as well, with staring at a screen, you're starting to affect your eyes as well. How many people have to get eye examinations when they're using computers for daily chores. I don't know if many people know this, but any company that you work with, they are required to give you an eye examination, a workplace eye examination, so that you can, if you've got problems with your eyes, they can give you glasses for it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So in addition to Tuina, what other techniques do you like to use in your practice?
I think the most upcoming trend is cupping therapy.
Oh yeah, you're a big fan of that, aren't you?
I am. Cupping therapy. Cupping is a fantastic treatment. It's almost like the inverse of massage. So instead of me pushing on your muscles, it pulls on them. It's just another way to help stretch tissues. I use fascial techniques, trigger point techniques, muscle activation techniques, active release techniques. There's a multitude of treatments that I use. It just depends on what the issue is, Some people who just need to de-stress, they use something called holistic massage, and that's essentially in between of Swedish and sports massage. So it's not fluffy, but it's not too deep. So it helps rebalance the parasympathetic system. It helps your body fight against cortisol. It's really just depends on what the issue is.
Yeah. In terms of finding therapists, one of the things that I've always struggled with is finding good ones, right? And I think that's a big problem. Just like in our industry with personal trainers and online coaches, there's a lot of like pretenders, right? And there's a lot of terrible therapists and terrible coaches. And so how does someone differentiate between them? What should someone ask a therapist beforehand, or what should they look out for on their website or social media or whatever they advertise themselves on to their expertise? I mean, of course, word of mouth is a big thing, but beyond that, what people do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Word of mouth is a massive thing, but again, problem with word of mouth is it's relevant to that patient's needs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it might be, you say, oh yeah, he's great, but the person you're sending doesn't need my type of treatment. You have to be careful of, especially websites that are missing information. So if they don't give a full account of treatments that they do, or the treatment qualifications of their therapists, you have to be careful of them because they might be trying to hide something. I'm not saying it's all websites, but definitely some I've seen that are very dodgy and they're very negligent in the information they give. The best way for you to try and find a good therapist is to talk to the therapist. Call them up, speak to them. I get a lot of new patients, and the first thing I'll try and do is give them a phone call if I can, because first of all, I want them to know, I'm not some dodgy guy in a back alley.
Despite working your treatments.
Yeah. But it's also, you've got to build a rapport with that person. Getting treatment is a relationship, therapist and patient. You have to build that relationship. You can't just go to a random person and go, yeah, treat me. Hey, it's just, it's the worst thing you can do. I'd also look out for people who try and sell themselves too much. They try and sell themselves too much, although it could be good for business. What are they hiding? Why are they trying to push? They're trying to just get the sale, or they're trying to hide something, or trying to convince you that they're the best for some reason. I think most of the people who've come to see me, they'll notice that I don't sell myself that much.
No, you're terrible at that.
I am. I really am. I really am. But it's one of the things that I find also helps me in business.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I don't have ego when I treat. I care about my patients. I want you to get better. I've been in scenarios where I've had to refer the patient to another therapist because they're moving away or because they can't get into the clinic, and I'm happy to do that as long as you get the treatment you need.
I mean, when I first before I even came to you, Sham, one of the first things Sham said to me was he's not stingy with time. Like he'll finish when the treatment's finished. I mean, of course, if you've got back to back, then you need to stop. But a lot of therapists, as soon as the clock hits 60 minutes, you're out, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you can tell that you genuinely care about the patient, which is critical. And speaking of treatment, because I'm always guilty of only coming when I'm hurt, right? And this is
yes, you are.
Right? Why should I be doing more proactive treatment? What's the benefits of doing proactive treatment?
So
Preventing injury in the first place, but why should I? Because a lot of people find it hard to justify to themselves in their busy schedules. I need to go for a massage or a therapy treatment when there's nothing wrong with it.
So again, going going to repeat myself a bit here. Prevention is always better than the cure. We live a life of if I can keep going, I'm going to keep going until something stops me. And it's just our, hunter-gatherer instinct. But we don't need to be in that state of mind anymore. And too many people look for the miracle cure. They look for the, talking broadly, they look for the amazing, crash diet or the superfood that will burn fat, or the magic pill, or the medical intervention, the surgery that's going to fix all their problems.
Yeah.
But it's not the way the human body works. Unfortunately, it's great sales tactics, and plenty of people use them. But the hard work is to keep going. I think, to be honest, all you need in regards to therapy and then working out, training, and managing your lifestyle is just a management system. Not on top of that, you have to change the mindset of massage. Massage shouldn't be seen as an indulgence. It is an indulgence. Don't get me wrong. You want to go, you want to feel nice and relaxed, and some massage do that. But actually, it's a necessity. We live a life of stress, and we live a life of go, 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 go. And the least you can do is an hour every couple of weeks to fight that. To combat that. And when you add that in with, rest, movement, nutrition, adding a multi-layered perception of recovery, I think you see the benefits of your, like, for example, you train, you'll see the benefits of your training once you change your mindset about looking after your body.
Yeah, that's probably the perfect way to segue into what the future of Back to Basics is.
Oh, well, yeah.
I want to know. Tell me.
It's the secret.
And Back to Basics, by the way, is Paul's company. It's Back to Basics Therapy.
Yeah. So, Back to Basics Therapy it's not just a name. It was a vision of mine. I had this vision to share my journey into finding new therapies, and educating the world on the effectiveness of those therapies. People think of them as alternative therapy or complementary therapy, but people need to remember that these alternative and complementary therapies are actually the original therapies. They were used hundreds and thousands of years before Western medicine, before penicillin was even invented. So in my opinion, should be, seen as the first protocol for most issues. With that in mind, Back to Basics Therapy, my goal is to open a multidisciplinary training clinic to teach the variety of therapeutic skills with clinical proof behind them.
Amazing. I'd recommend anyone in the London area to go check out Paul. And you also work out at Tuina Clinic in Kentish Town, right?
Yeah, Touch Tuina. That's where it's also a student clinic, so it's a learning clinic. So that's where I learn my Chinese medicine and my Tuina skills. So I work closely with them. I'm one of their senior practitioners now.
Awesome. So where can people find you? And if they want to book in for a treatment, what do they need to do?
So, I'm always up for talking to anyone. You can message me on Instagram, so Back to Basics Therapy, or you can visit my website, which is www.backtobasicstherapy.com. There's a bit more information on what I do there. In regards to booking, I am fairly busy. It's quite hard to get hold of me sometimes, so I can't always promise I'll answer a phone call, but I'll always answer a message at some point. But for those of you that know me, you can book directly on the website now. So you've got a booking system. You just go on, see my calendar, see when I'm available, book and pay online, and that's it. It takes all the stress out of it. You've got your appointment and you don't have to wait for me.
So let's finish up with some rapid fire questions.
Oh, dude, come on.
I didn't take one either today.
Got it.
All right. What's one item on your bucket list you want to tick off?
I want to drive Route 66 on a Harley.
Nice. Number 2, what's your favorite place you've traveled to?
Say what?
What's the favorite place you've traveled to?
Favorite place? Italy. I love Italy. Anywhere in Italy is fantastic. At the moment, I think Sardinia is my favorite. Yeah. It's completely secluded from the island of Italy. The fruit itself there, it's ridiculous. You can go up to fruit. You can go up to a fig tree, pick up the fruit and eat it. It's just phenomenal.
And off the back of that, what's your favorite Italian dish to cook?
To cook?
That you mentioned earlier, you're a specialist.
yeah, absolutely. I'm a dessert guy, so I like to cook a tiramisu, but I'll never turn my nose up at a good steak.
And lastly, who should we have on the podcast next?
Oh wow! Do you know what? I think there's a guy I work with. I think you know him, Rush from RNT Physio.
Oh yeah.
I think he'll be a really good guy for you to.
Yeah, it's funny.
Get another side of therapy because
I messaged Rush earlier today saying I'm speaking to Paul on the podcast. I'd love to get you on as well, just to see his take on healing and injuries and various.
Absolutely, and maybe we can do a three-way podcast one day to see comparisons between types of treatment. Because I know, like for example, physiotherapy is very movement-based. Whereas sports therapy and sports massage is very hands-on based.
I think it could be some collaborations there for you as well. And he's got some interesting techniques and he's doing really well for himself. So
he's asked me to come and visit him, and we might be doing some collaborations together soon.
Okay, great. So for any listeners who really enjoyed today's episode with Paul, they're interested in Tuina techniques and more of the work he's done. Just go check out his website, www.backtobasicstherapy.com, and him on Instagram at backtobasicstherapy. We'll link those in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to share it, hit subscribe, and leave a positive review. For more information, please visit us at www.rntfitness.co.uk. And to find us on Instagram, we're at RNT_fitness. So it's at RNT_fitness or at Akash Together. Thanks for listening.